Hey, welcome everybody. It's Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is In God We Still Trust. And this is part 3 of this is the final part of our 3-part series on what socialism really is. And hopefully you've been here for the first 2 parts of it, you guys. This has been an amazing journey. Hopefully you've learned something during this whole time, because I don't think a lot of people really thought that this is what they were going to get. They thought it was be a kumbaya moment, and it is anything but that. So anyways, we'll be back in just a second. We're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to wrap this whole thing up, part 3 of what socialism really is. Folks, hang on to your hats. You are going to love this. Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is In God We Still Trust. All right, folks, hopefully you were here with us for the first 2 parts of what socialism really is. And if you haven't, go ahead and take a look in our YouTube channel. It's right there, and you can actually check it all out. So we're not going to go through the whole recap of it, but we will say this in just starting out. I had this conversation with ChatGPT, especially in light of Zoran Mamdani winning this mayoral race in New York City. He's an avowed Democrat socialist, he says. Boy, he's just so excited about being a Democrat socialist. And you go on their website and check out what Democrat socialists really believe. And they're communists, guys. They are the gateway to communism. So, and I mentioned that yesterday on the show. And interesting thing about it is we had other people like Turning Point USA, people echoing the same sentiment that I mentioned yesterday, that socialism is the gateway drug to communism. And that's just the way it's going to be. Once they get in, they're going to progressively they're going to ratchet it up. They're going to give more free stuff. People, especially the young people, are just not going to be able to run away from the allure of all this free stuff, and then they finally got you. Okay, they really do. And then they'll start, ratcheting down the government on you, and then you'll have no freedoms at all. Okay, you'll be giving away all of your freedoms. So let's go into part number 3, and we're going to talk about in this segment when government becomes God. This is the inevitability of where socialism is moving towards, guys. When government becomes your God. And the spiritual conflict between socialism and faith. Because that's really what it's about here in God We Still Trust. We believe in our God-given rights, our unalienable rights, and that they are not given by government, they are given by God. So, where our nation is at a crossroads. It says America was founded on the conviction that our rights come from God, not from government. Socialism reverses that truth. It says government grants rights and therefore can take them away. And what we're facing today is not just a political debate. It's a spiritual battle for the soul of our nation. And that's the truth, guys. We've got a bunch of people who are in their 18 years of age, or up to 18 to about 30 years of age. They really have no idea what they're doing, guys. I think they probably shouldn't be able to vote until they're much older, because they still just don't get it, man. They just don't. They're just going by TikTok and by their feeling. Zoran Mamdani should absolutely not be the mayor of the biggest city in the country. I mean, he's a 32-year-old kid. I mean, I don't know, he's maybe even older than that, a little bit older than that, 33-year-old kid. And yet now he's got a budget now starting in January of like tens of billions of dollars. Oh my gosh. Really? Before this, you know what he did? You know the biggest payroll he had? 10. And now he's got 300,000 people who work for the city of New York. It's going to be a nightmare. God's design for freedom. Scripture says in 2 Corinthians 3:17, "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. God's design is liberty, not just political, but spiritual freedom. And socialism takes that away. He gave humanity free will, the ability to choose, and the responsibility to work and to steward creation. And that was in Genesis, where he says, guys, guess what? Be fruitful and multiply. Have dominion over the world. And socialism says, no, the government will do that for you. You don't worry about that. You don't have any responsibility for that now. Well, as a matter of fact, you do what we tell you to do. And that is something that we cannot continue to live under. Freedom thrives where people are guided by internal moral restraint, the fear of God, not external control, fear of the government. God wants us to be able to do the things we do because He puts that moral restraint within us, that we've got that connection with Him. So when we look at trash on the ground, when we see an injustice being done, that we act upon it not because the government says to do it, but it's something deep within us. Unfortunately, what happens with this socialism is the government is going to be the one that's going to tell you what to do, and that is not what God intended us to do. He made us stewards over this great earth, and he planted within us this moral compass, and that's why we have the things we have. Teddy Roosevelt, who's arguably one of our greatest environmental presidents, anyways, that was something that he lived by. I mean, my gosh, it was he said he saw the Teton Mountains, he saw Yosemite, he saw all these places, and he said we have got to protect these places. That's why you have the EPA. That's why you have the national parks. That's why, and it wasn't because the government came in and said that this is going to happen. It's because there was a moral compass within a man, Teddy Roosevelt, and then men after him and women after him who said, yes, we've got to protect this earth. Okay, and that's God's great design for us. And so, folks, we've got to begin to start looking at our own, where we're at in this whole thing, because if we continue down this road, they've got people, like I said, who are living in Minnesota. They've got people in Seattle. They've got socialists all over the fruited plain that are cropping up, and they are going to continue to put this noose around America's necks. And here's the difference between where we're at now and where we were before, what led us to this point. Now we have people who are watchmen on the wall, people like us here at In God We Still Trust, who are looking at this progressive tightening of this noose around the neck of America, and we're saying, wake up, America. We got to wake up before it is too late. What has happened over the years, guys, and we're going to talk about this in the this next segment, is how we got to this point. Because, guys, guess what? We do not want to go back here again. We're running along on this segment. I will be back in just a second, folks, with more of In God We Still Trust. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we are back. This is Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is In God We Still Trust. And we've been talking about socialism, what it really is, and we're gonna let's back up a little bit, folks. We're kind of doing a recap, and we're actually adding into it the spiritual component to what socialism is and why it is so detrimental to American society. Socialism, for those of you who don't remember what it is, it's an economic system where the government has ultimate control over everything, or such a heavy control over everything that you have no freedom. It also encompasses a communal thing, where the community says, hey, we don't like this, the whole thing, and the community basically says, hey, we're going to step on your freedom. As opposed to what the American capitalist constitutional republic system has, and capitalism, where you have ultimate freedom, guys. You have liberty, you have freedom, and it's driven by free market principles. We are also a Judeo-Christian country, which means that our moral compass is built upon God and our Constitution. Whereas socialism, they're trying to get rid of God completely. They want God out of everything because guess what? God gets in the way of government. God gets in the way of government controlling everything you've got. And that's scary, folks. That is just a scary place to be at. So what are the roots of socialism? Okay, Karl Marx, we talked about this before. Karl Marx rejected God outright. He said, we can't have it. He called religion the opiate of the people. Remember that? He called religion the opiate of the people. Because guess what? If you've got God in your heart and your work, you don't really realize how bad you've got it in this world. And so he wants to, so you've got to eliminate God so that they can come in and tell you how bad you've got it. And that way you can start a revolution. We've heard of this before, revolution. His dream was a world where God was unnecessary and state becomes the provider, the new savior. He wants to make government your God. Kind of like, sounds like Rome, ancient Rome, doesn't it? Right? Ancient Rome was Caesar, I am your God, right? And, you know, Caligula and all these guys. I mean, they're thinking that they're God, and now they're the ones who call the shots. And that's not what God wants at all. Socialism starts as an economic theory, but quickly grows into a substitute religion. When you first start this thing, you're going, oh, it's just so nice. It's so kumbaya. It's very nice, right? But eventually, guys, it becomes your God. It becomes your savior. It becomes your provider. It becomes the one who gives you all the rights you have. Those unalienable rights that we've talked about before, you guys. That's what, those rights that were given by God to you as a man. All of a sudden, it turns into it being the one who gives you all of the rights and privileges that you've got. Complete with its own creed. Here's what it tells you. Okay, when you start hearing these words, guys, you need to start, your spiritual ears need to perk up. Equality with morality. Or excuse me, it's equality without morality. Compassion without accountability. When you start hearing people going, oh, equality, I need equity, and we need all this other stuff. Guys, guess what? They're saying that they want to be the ones who tell you what it is. Our American system is built upon opportunity. Everybody has the same opportunity. A lot of people could do a video like this if they really wanted to. There's nothing stopping them to do that. But they just say, I don't want to put the time in. And so is that the government's place to change that? Well, under socialism, yeah. Under socialism, they say, oh yeah, we're going to just, if everybody can't do this, you can't do this. Because you're part of the bourgeoisie. Right? Isaiah 42:8 reminds us, I am the Lord. That is my name. I will not yield my glory to another. There's only one God. And he is the one who calls the shots, guys, not the government. I feel really sad for a government who puts themselves in a position where they think that they're God. The next step, I wouldn't want to make that next step if I were them. Because God is very, very adamant about him being the only God. When the government begins to act as your provider, your protector, and moral authority, it has taken the place of God. And unfortunately, people like Zohar Mamdani, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, all these people, they're and Zohar Mamdani, once again, believe that that's what's gonna happen. I think that's why so many Democrat leadership were really kind of reticent to try to jump in bed with this guy, because they were saying, wait a minute, this might be dangerous. But then they folded, and they folded hard, guys, and they cannot do this. Okay, we'll be back in just a second, folks, with our next segment of this. You're going to want to stick around, guys. You don't want to miss this. Oh, something is missing here. And we'll be back in just a second with a little bit more of In God We Still Trust, and what socialism really is. We'll be back. Stay tight, folks. We'll be back in a second. All right, folks, we're back with more of In God We Still Trust. Thank you. I'm sorry about that last cut there. We had a really weird kind of thing going there. Everything just stopped working all of a sudden, and it's very tough to make things happen if things are stopped. So, this next segment, we're talking about the fruits of socialism. The fruits of socialism, folks, are pretty obvious, and if you've not noticed it, it can be very, very crazy. Everywhere socialism has been tried, it has led to these things right here, folks. Okay, the loss of freedom, your loss of your freedom of your speech, the freedom of press, and the freedom of worship. Okay, those are three pillars that we live in on America. Okay, our freedom of speech, our freedom of worship, and our freedom of the press. And I'm really surprised that you don't have more press folks that are jumping on this, going, "Hey, wait a minute, this is going to affect me." And I think what it is, they don't realize it. Once totalitarianism gets its grip on things, it squashes the narrative, any narrative that comes against it. Okay, it does the same thing in your freedom of your speech. So all these people that are out there marching right now, and they're jumping up and down, George Soros, all these guys that are paying for all these marchers, eventually you're not going to be able to do that unless you do it under their dictates. The same thing with churches. The only way churches who don't get involved now are going to be able to even survive when communism takes over are state-run churches. So if you don't get involved, Mr. Pastor, if you don't get involved, New York Times, if you don't get involved, just regular Joes off the street who just, want to get a buck for, marching and throwing rocks against the police and stuff like that, you better start waking up, because you will not have those freedoms under communism. And that's where socialism will lead, to communism. I don't think people realize how bad this is going to get. Led to its ultimate conclusion, socialism becomes communism, which means you get no freedoms. Ask the people in Russia, okay? Ask the people in Venezuela, ask the people in Cuba, okay? All these workers' rights, yay, workers' rights, and eventually you got no rights at all. Because then you got Fidel Castro standing there with a big cigar in his mouth, and he's got his military guys saying, I don't even like you. And these Muslims who are running around going, "Oh yes, we love what Zoran Mamdani's doing. He's a Muslim just like us." Okay, guess what? Tell that to the Uyghurs in China. Tell that to the Uyghurs in China. Under a communist regime in China, the Uyghurs are in internment camps. Over 1 million of them. Communism wants to wipe out all religion completely. And if you are a practicing Muslim, okay, and you think that you've got it all under control, ask the Uyghurs in China. They don't have it under control. As a matter of fact, they're being indoctrinated, they're being brainwashed into not having any religion. So if you think you're worshiping Allah, right, and you're going to go to heaven and have these 20 virgins or whatever it is, no, it's not going to happen. Especially in a communist state. Everywhere it has been tried, that's what happens. It's a suppression of faith. Churches are closed, pastors are imprisoned or killed. Economic collapse happens because man cannot outplan God's designs for human incentives and stewardship. Government can't do this. Okay, what ultimately happens is man gets tired of working for somebody else, and they say, "I'm not going to work anymore." Then what happens? The economy starts collapsing. Or you don't have enough rich people to pay for all these programs that the government is taking over. Okay? It always begins with good sounding promises and ends with broken people under the weight of control. Okay? Always starts that way. Hey, guess what? We're going to give you free bodegas, and we're going to give you free buses. We're going to give you free this, free health care, free food, free this and free that. Then we're going to freeze your rents. That's really good, right? Okay, it sounds great, doesn't it? It sounds great that they're going to freeze your rents until you become into government housing, and everybody's paying $2 for and then you got too many. Then you're not going to have your place where it's just you and your 4 kids, or your 3 kids, or you and your wife. Oh no, we're going to put 10 more people in that place with you because we need the room. And you think that you've got it all under control. It always sounds good. promises. The only people that'll have great houses are the people at the top of the chain. There's always somebody at the top of the chain saying that you need this, you need that, you need that, you need this, you need that. But it doesn't apply to me. Like Nancy Pelosi right now. But she's living high on the hog, isn't she, folks? She's made tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars on stock trades, while the rest of us wonder, how the heck did you make all this money? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, same thing. There's so many people in government, they're going, oh, you know, this is what you need, but I'm going to get this. Proverbs 14:12 says, there's a way that seems right to a man, but in the end leads to death. Free stuff leads to death, guys. I'm going to go a little long on this segment, guys, because we're going to be running long, and I don't want to run too much longer. Let's go on to the next segment here, folks. America's answer to socialism is faith and freedom. And faith and freedom are united. The founders built our republic on biblical principles, guys. Men are sinners, so government must be limited. Okay? So our founders built our government on biblical principles. So men are sinners. Okay? So government must be limited. Okay? We cannot trust a government to say, okay, we're going to do all this great stuff to you, because guess what? Men are sinners, man. Guess what? They're gonna abuse that system. Rights come from God. Our rights don't come from government, they come from God. So they must be protected, not granted. Our government was built so that it can protect the rights of man. The government doesn't grant your rights. Okay? Our government understands that. That's what our founders envisioned, and that's what they implemented. And it's not the other way around. That's what socialism tries to do. And the pursuit of happiness, it flows from freedom, not control. Okay, man is best when he's free to do what he wants to do, and man is best when he's able to have the opportunity to explore, opportunity to conquer, opportunity to innovate. Socialism does not allow that to do. That's why the very first freedom in the Bill of Rights is the freedom to exercise our religion. Okay, they knew that once the government can tell you how to worship, it can tell you what to believe. And that's the death of liberty. That is definitely the death of liberty, folks. Our government is here to protect your ability to have those freedoms in life, guys, not to limit it. It's there to protect those rights so that you can innovate. Because it knows, guys, guess what? Once you're able to exercise your God-given right to worship God, then you will exercise that liberty in a moral way. But if the government eliminates religion, guess what? Man is going to go, because man is sinful. Man is definitely sinful. Anyways, let's take another break, guys. A really quick break, and we'll be back with our last segment of what socialism really is. It's Pastor Sherman Ray. Praying God we still trust. We'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, folks, we are back. This is Pastor Sherman Ray for In God We Still Trust. I hope you're enjoying this, guys. We wanted to put a bow on this three-part series on what socialism really is, and try to show you what the biblical part of this is, and why it is so important to Christians. Why we don't get involved in this whole socialism thing. As a matter of fact, we need to resist it at all costs, guys. Okay. We need to sound the alarm to tell all of our friends, tell everybody we know that socialism is the gateway drug to communism, and we cannot allow our country to slide into it. So let's talk about what our calling is today, guys. Let's begin to put a bow on this thing, and to talk to the people about what we need to do today. The first thing we need to do is we need to teach the truth. Reminding our nation that socialism is not compassion. Okay? It's control. I know a lot of people, especially this younger generation, they're talking about, oh, this is a great thing. We're going to get to see all this great stuff that's going to happen. And it ultimately is actually control of your life. That's where everything, there's no freebies in this world. You're not going to get anything free out of this. And if anybody tells you anything differently, they are lying to you. There's always consequences to everything you've got. Our calling today, guys, is to live boldly. Okay? As examples of what faith and hard work can do when men and women work and walk with God. Okay? We need to exercise our faith in such a profound way that people that they recognize that we are the reason why we're so bold is because we have the freedom to do that. Charlie Kirk was one of those guys, and he was a consummate example of what faith and freedom in action is. And we need to begin to do that same thing. I'm calling on churches right now to begin to get off your stupid butts and start preaching the gospel. Okay, we're allowing people to go down a path that they will never recover from. America is the greatest example of what God can do with a society that gives its heart over to Him. We've given our heart over to Him. We've given our laws, our country, our culture is all God-based. We are that example, and we are letting it go. We're just letting it go. We are the only social experiment of our kind. That's why we have been so successful, guys. That's not because we're great people, guys. We got some nuts here in America. But it's because we follow God. We still believe in God. We still trust in God. That's what the name of the show is. That's the name of what this whole ministry is. In God, we still trust. That's why it's on our money. We wanted our legacy, that we wanted people coming after us knowing that we were a godly country. That's why we put it on all of our money. It's not there just because it sounds good. We wanted the world to know this. And there are people who are trying to take that away. We've got to stand up against that. Righteously, boldly. We cannot allow people to take that away from us. We need to pray fervently, guys, for revival in the hearts before there can be a renewal in government. Okay, before there can be a renewal in government, we need to pray about that. This happens in the hearts of people. Your neighbors, your mom, your dad, your kids, your co-workers. Revival needs to break out in the people before it even gets to the government. Because the government represents us, not the other way around. Government is there to serve us. It's to serve the will of the people, not to serve themselves. And that we serve the government. It doesn't work that way. And we've got to demand that happen. When people like Hakeem Jeffries closes down the government and Chuck Schumer closes down the government because they want their way, they just want control. They want to control your health care. They want to control everything you've got. So they're saying, well, we don't care if you suffer as a result of it. We're going to keep the government closed down. We're going to keep all the services that we paid for already. Okay? They want to keep it all closed down to squeeze us because they have control and they want to keep control over us. And they're not going to give up that control. See how much this has already impacted us already? A small group of people who want to control the entire they want to control all of America have shut down our government already. It's already at work, guys, and we've got to demand that this ends. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sin and heal their land." Folks, we need to pray. We need to pray as a people that things will change, that God will break out in our nation. Because if we don't do this, folks, we are in for a rough time. The Bible talks about that these are the end times. And guys, I can see it already happening. I can see it already happening. But guess what? There's still a remnant that can see God do some amazing things in America. before he comes back. We are that generation, guys. Or we can be that last generation that says that we're just letting it all go. Here are my closing thoughts, guys. Socialism says, trust the government and it will take care of you. The gospel says, trust in the Lord. He will provide for you. Those two messages cannot coexist, guys. Okay? Either you'll serve God or you'll serve mammon. That's really the choice you have. One sets you free, the other one enslaves you with a smile. We need to begin to trust God with all of our heart, all of our mind, all of our soul, guys. We cannot allow, once again, for there to be this roughshod run over America. And that is socialism, which will ultimately become communism. Church, wake up, do your job, and begin to pray for revival. This has been Sherman Ray for In God We Still Trust. I hope you've enjoyed this special three-part series on what socialism really is. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.